We asked our Instagram followers who is the best AZORIUS commander, and we can now tell you the top 10 best AZORIUS commanders in MTG 2024 update. Just making it onto the list, we have Reyna the Ever Watchful. Reyna has Flying and Vigilance. The first card you foretell each turn costs 0 to foretell. When you exile one or more cards from your hand and or permanents from the field, create a 1/1 spirit creature token with Flying. A foretell themed commander to start the video. I bet you didn't see that one coming.
Funny! Very funny!
Since its introduction in Kaldheim, there have been over 50 foretell loving cards, and with over 50% of those cards being in our colours, the foretell cards we have to use fill the decks themselves. We have foretell for removal, card draw, or even flash speed creatures. Everything EDH loves. We also want to create an army of flying birds for protection or to go wide, so we are also leaning into exile. We're exiling with foretell already, so the more exile we have from everywhere, usually in blinking or flickering with our colours, can not only get us more 1/1 birds, but more ETB recursion, which again, EDH loves. A strong commander, which in my opinion should have been higher up in this list.
You deserve better.
Before we get on to number 9, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe down below for all things MTG. Subscribing is completely free to do and it helps our channel grow and grow. Moving on to number 9, we have the Council of Four. Printed in Commander Legends 2 Electric Boogaloo, whenever a player draws their second card during their turn, draw a card. Whenever a player casts their second spell during their turn, create a 2/2 Knight creature token. Many of these council decks lean into those wheels. The first part of our commander's text applies to all players in the game, so the more ways we have to make everyone draw at least 2 cards per turn, the more cards we'll be drawing ourselves. With an abundance of cards, make sure to throw in all of those ways to give ourselves no maximum hand size, because discarding down to 7 is pain. Lastly, lean even harder into card draw and throw in all of those cards that support our card drawing. Why just have 1 trigger when we could have 2 triggers, 3 triggers, 4 triggers, or 5 triggers, or
Shut your mouth.
Next on our list we have Teshi, Reality Architect. Released in 2022's Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, whenever 1 or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. This ability triggers once each turn. You can pay to return a land you control to your hand. Return tag artifact or enchantment with mana value X or less from your graveyard to your hand. First off, let's talk bouncing.
Bounce it, bounce it. Ooh.
We're going to be playing those super cheap to cast spells to return things to hand and get that first card draw trigger. Instance preferred, so we can do this on each player's turn to maximise drawing cards. We're then playing all of those artifact and enchantments, preferably ones that we can sack so they hit the graveyard, and then we use Teshi to bring them back to the field. Rinse and repeat these cards to clear our opponent's board, draw some cards, ramp ourselves silly, but most importantly, win the game. In at number 7 we have Bruna Light of Alabaster. Originally printed in 2012's Avacyn Restored, whenever Bruna attacks or blocks, you may attach to it any number of auras onto the field, and you may put onto the field attached to it any number of aura cards that could enchant it from your graveyard and or hand. One route here is to go all out auras. Incredibly, there have been over 1,100 auras released in MTG's history, and an eye-watering 50% of those fit our AZORIUS colours, meaning the potential variety in a deck like this is massive. Normally auras aren't overly loved in EDH, as once they hit the field, they are gone for good, but this angelic commander gets them all attached to her when she attacks or blocks, even from the graveyard. Lastly, once out Bruna will definitely become the target, so make sure we have every big protection aura possible. The more totem armour, the better. Another commander I thought may be higher in this list. What do you think about Bruna? Let me know in the comments below.
Probably won't.
Narrowly missing out on the top half we have Elminster. Printed in Commander Legends at Battle for Baldur's Gate, whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. +2 to draw a card, then scry 2, -3 to exile the top card of your library, create a number of 1/1 fairy dragon creature tokens equal to that card's mana value. First off, we're throwing in every way to scry or organise the top of our deck. Whether it's Elminster's ability or those cheap 1-drop blue classics, we need to get our cards sorted, so when we use our commander's -3 ability, we're exiling a big mana value card, then creating an army of flying dragons equal to its mana value. And of course, usually the bigger mana value cards are the more disgusting, so if we have to play them instead of top decking them, then that is fine, that is just all the more chaos that we can cause. A great card and a great commander, but this commander just screams to me, it's Eureka from Wish.
What? Say that again, if you dare.
Next up we have Brago, King Eternal. Whenever Flying Brago deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of non-land permanents you control, then return those cards to the field under their owner's control. Another Azorius commander, another Blink Master Strategist. We may have seen a few of these cards here before, but similar to Raynar, this time we're blinking all of our cards whenever Brago deals combat damage. That means getting combat damage through is essential, adding plenty of cards that can beef up our own commander, give it flying, make it unblockable. Maybe there's even some non-green trample living cards around in MTG somewhere. Throwing in exile living cards too are key. We'll be exiling Mad, so cards like Soul Herder will work to perfection. Lastly, it's not necessarily needed, but the more extra turns equals more chances to attack, meaning more blinking madness, so throw them in if you want even more triggers. Just missing out on the bronze medal spots, we have Millicent Restless Revenant. Released just the once in 2021's Crimson Vow Precon, this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control. Whenever it or another non-token spirit you control dies or deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 flying spirit creature token. As the first line of her text suggests, we're going to need a spirit army. With around 800 combined spirit creatures and spirit creature creating cards, and over half of those being in our colours, once again this is a commander that has the potential for plenty of variety. We're throwing in every way to create spirits here. The more we have, not only the cheaper our commander will be to cast, but the more chance we'll have to create even more spirits through combat damage or spirit removal. With plenty of spirits that have flying, with combat damage creating us even more spirits, this is a deck that can go insanely wide, insanely big, and very hard for our opponents to deal with. For the third best commander, we have Hilda of the Icy Crown. Recently printed in Wilds of Eldraine, whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, you may pay 1. When you do, choose one. Create a 4/4 elemental token, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, or scry 2, then draw a card. We have to first start by plugging the amazing Hilda deck tech we put out a few months ago, link in the description. First off, we're adding in an army of tapping creatures. We want our creatures to tap things, not only for their own effects, but to trigger Hilda too. We're not leaving it just to creatures though, we're throwing in every other artifact, enchantment and everything else, so we're keeping our opponent's creatures sideways, getting kinda stacksy and then getting the win. Don't forget to add in some untappy action too. We here at Gathering the Magic love Jandor's saddlebags almost as much as our beloved Prickly Marmoset.
Blasphemy!
Runner-up and the second best commander, we have Grand Arbiter Augustine the 4th. First printed way back in 2006 Dissension, white spells cost 1 less to cast, blue spells cost 1 less to cast, spells your opponents play cost 1 more to play. You bet we're getting all kinds of stacksy here. The ultimate Marmite theme within Magic the Gathering, we're going to be playing all of the cards to prevent our opponents from doing anything, allowing us to then control the board in the most devilishly disgusting way possible. The Azorius colours are arguably the most stacks based within MTG, so filling this deck full of ways to stop your opponents from attacking you, stopping their abilities to trigger, or even preventing them from getting out their commander is very possible. Shout out to Draneth Magistrate, you evil, evil card. This is my favourite commander from this list, and would be my personal number 1. But is it as good as the card that was voted number 1? Winner and the best Azorius commander is Shakai, Genesis Engine. First printed in 2022's Neon Dynasty Commander Precon, you can pay 1 and tap to draw 2, then discard a card. Create a 1/1 pilot token with this creature cruise vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. And Shakai has crew 8. We know how this runs, and that is everything vehicles. An artifact type introduced in Kaladesh, so far we've had over 100 vehicles and 75 fit into those Azorius colours. Thanks to our commander not being a creature until it is crewed, it can be tapped straight away to start building our pilot army. Throwing in plenty untappers, also common within those colours, are key. More untapping means more tapping, meaning more card draw and a bigger army. Finally, throwing in any vehicle living cards or just artifact living cards are essential. Gain more value when we cast those spells, get a huge advantage and win the game. A great commander, and one that is rightfully the best Azorius commander in MTG. There we have it, that is the top 10 Azorius list. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for all things MTG. Check out our link tree for all of our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.